Your $100 today could magically transform into a whopping $92 next year, and an even more impressive $85 2 years later. Nice deal, right? But don't worry, you're not the only financial genius watching your money perform this incredible disappearing act. With tariffs sparking what politicians lovingly call a trade adjustment and inflation gently rising, your wallet is about to experience what economists technically call getting absolutely wrecked. The international tariff war has slightly exceeded expectations, and just 83% of people globally are completely unprepared. That's right, a whole 17% of people actually know what's coming. Let me show you exactly what's happening to your money right now, because ignorance may be bliss, but it's also that expensive. What's happening? Tariffs and the inflation threat. First, let's talk about why everyone's buzzing about tariffs. In early April 2025, new U.S. tariffs kicked in, a modest 10% on most imports and up to 50% on some countries, with whispers of 125% tariffs on the horizon. Because nothing fixes international relations like making everything cost more. Why does this matter? Well, tariffs are basically taxes on imported goods, except politicians never call them taxes because that would be honest. They make stuff like clothes, electronics, and even food pricier. But hey, who needs affordable necessities anyway? Here's a fun stat. Economists, those cheerful folks who study dismal science, estimate these tariffs could cost the average American household an extra $3,800 per year. Lower-income families might feel it even worse, with an added $1,700 in costs. And cars? They could jump by $2,500 to $20,000 depending on the model. But that's fine. We were all looking for excuses to bike more, right? And here's the kicker. Tariffs don't just raise prices, they fuel inflation. The Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, warned on April 4, 2025, that these tariffs could push inflation higher and slow economic growth. He looked really concerned, which is always reassuring coming from the guy in charge of the economy. Inflation means your dollar buys less tomorrow than it does today. Imagine your grocery bill or rent climbing faster than your paycheck. Hilarious, isn't it? The inflation impact. Understanding the numbers. So, what exactly is inflation? It's that magical process where your money somehow gets less valuable while sitting in your bank account. Isn't that wonderful? Let's put this in real terms. $100 or €100 from 2015 is worth only about $72 or €75 today in 2025 after accounting for cumulative inflation. That's a 25 to 28% decrease in your money's value in just a decade. According to those optimistic folks at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and HSBC, inflation rates between 5 to 7% are expected throughout 2025 for most developed economies. Some emerging markets might see double-digit inflation, because apparently, single-digit wealth erosion wasn't exciting enough. This means if you're keeping your money in a typical savings account earning a generous 1 to 2% interest, you're effectively losing 3 to 6% of your money's value each year. That's like having someone take $30 to $60 from every $1,000 you've saved every single year. It's basically a subscription service for becoming poorer. Social media is absolutely buzzing with cheerful news about how tariffs could tank stock markets, with some predicting retirement accounts might take a mere 10 to 15% hit if trade wars escalate. That 401k you've been religiously contributing to? Think of it as a donation to the economic gods. What's causing this delightful situation? Let's look at the greatest hits. Energy costs, up 12.3% year over year. Food prices, increased 8.7% globally. Housing costs, up 7.4% in major metropolitan areas. Healthcare, rising at 6.8% annually. The Oxford Economics Institute, those harbingers of joy, projects that these trends will continue through at least second quarter of 2026. So, the financial strategies I'm about to share aren't just short-term fixes, they're essential knowledge for protecting what little wealth you might have left in the coming years. Financial literacy tips. Protect your money. Okay, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk solutions. Financial literacy is about making smart moves. So here's your 2025 playbook to fight inflation and protect your money, or what's left of it. Diversify your savings. Still letting your cash sit in a low-interest account? How adorable. That's like trying to put out a fire with a water gun. Inflation's outpacing most savings accounts faster than I outpace my fitness goals. Consider inflation-protected assets instead. Treasury inflation-protected securities, or TIPS, adjust with inflation, so your money keeps its value. Gold prices have surged 23% since January, probably because people are panicking. Making strategic investment decisions. Agricultural commodities are up 16.4%, and industrial metals have gained 14.2%. Apparently, real things have value. Who knew? Real estate continues to serve as an inflation hedge worldwide, with global REITs showing average returns of 9.3% in 2025 so far. A 25-year analysis by Vanguard shows that real estate has outpaced inflation in 83% of high inflation periods globally. Equities with strong pricing power deserve special attention. Companies in consumer staples, healthcare, energy, and certain technology sectors have been able to pass increased costs to consumers. How thoughtful of them. The MSCI World Value Index is outperforming growth stocks by 7.2% year-to-date because apparently value investing is back in style, like those jeans from the 90s that no one asked for. For those with access to alternative investments, infrastructure funds with inflation-linked revenue models are providing exceptional protection, with average returns of 11.8%. The rest of us will just have to watch from the sidelines while eating our increasingly expensive ramen. Debt management in an inflationary environment. Let's talk about managing debt during this high-interest, high-inflation period, or as I like to call it, the financial Hunger Games. With global central banks pushing interest rates to multi-year highs, the cost of variable rate debt has skyrocketed. Credit card interest rates now average 24.3% in the United States. Practically a bargain. 22.8% in the United Kingdom, 19.7% in the Eurozone, 8.5% in Canada. Sorry about the high rates. 16.9% in Australia. If you're carrying high-interest debt, consolidation should be a priority. According to Moody's Analytics, consumers who consolidated credit card debt in early 2025 are saving an average of $4,200 annually in interest payments. That's like finding money in your couch. For mortgages, the situation is more nuanced. Global mortgage rates have risen substantially. 30-year fixed rates average 7.8% in the U.S. Remember when it was 3%? 5-year fixed rates average 6.2% in Canada. Variable rates in the Eurozone average 5.8%. However, here's where inflation can actually work in your favor. Fixed-rate debt becomes less burdensome during inflation because you're repaying with increasingly worthless, devalued, currency. The McKinsey Global Institute estimates that moderate inflation, 3 to 5%, effectively reduces the real cost of fixed-rate debt by up to 20% over a 5-year period. Finally, a silver lining thinner than my patience for economic forecasters. For those looking to purchase property, the Bank for International Settlements advises not waiting for rates to drop, as property values in many markets continue to appreciate faster than the additional interest costs. In other words, that overpriced shoebox will be an even more overpriced shoebox next year. Income protection strategies. Now let's address how to ensure your income keeps pace with inflation, or as I call it, the impossible dream. Global wage growth is projected at just 3.6% for 2025 according to the International Labor Organization, significantly below current inflation rates in most regions. This creates an inflation gap that steadily erodes your purchasing power. It's like getting a raise and a pay cut at the same time. If you're employed, salary negotiation is more critical than ever. Data from the latest Robert Half Salary Guide shows that employees who successfully negotiated raises in 2025 received average increases of 6.3%, nearly double the standard annual increase. So basically, if you're not negotiating, you're volunteering for a pay cut. For negotiation leverage, come prepared with documentation of your contributions. Market salary data platforms like Glassdoor and PayScale now offer inflation-adjusted benchmarks. Cost of living increase data for your specific region. For business owners and freelancers, pricing strategies must evolve. The Global Freelance Marketplace report shows successful freelancers increasing rates by an average of 8.7% in 2025. If your clients complain, just send them this video and a sympathy card. Income diversification has become essential. Households with multiple income streams report 42% less financial stress during high inflation periods, according to Credit Suisse's Global Wealth Report. So, in addition to your 40-plus hour workweek, consider digital side hustles, average monthly income, $1,200. Passive income investments, dividend yields averaging 4.7% globally. Skill monetization through platforms like Upwork or Fiverr or local services. Well, folks, we've reached the end of our How to Survive the Financial Apocalypse 2025 tour. Wasn't that fun? If your palms are sweaty and you're contemplating a life of foraging in the wilderness, mission accomplished. But seriously, here's the deal. Yes, the economy is doing its best impression of a dumpster fire right now. Tariffs are up. Inflation is partying like it's 1979, and your money is evaporating faster than my will to check my investment accounts.